guys, what's going on? A little different introduction here for the Strong Life podcast, aka STRONGCast. And if you are new here, you want to check out the video version, check us out, undergroundstrength.tv. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. Could hook you up with, as the Ultimate Warrior says, the daily dose of inspiration. And definitely check out my YouTube page. I put up a little memorial memory video of my memories of working and being friends with the Ultimate Warrior, and it was nothing short of amazing, very emotional for me, and only fitting that right before that happened, I did this interview with my friend Chris Moore, aka the Barbell Buddha. He is part of the Barbell Shrug podcast team, and since the Ultimate Warrior has passed away, I've been doing a lot of introspection and just really thinking about who I'm about, what the Underground Strength Gym and Underground Strength Coach is about, what our Underground Strength Coach certification is about, and it just solidifies the fact that I only want to work with passionate, intense people, and that there's nothing wrong with being passionate and intense about life, and that I'm going to step up my game in all areas of my life, and I feel fucking awesome, and it feels great to just know that that is the direction I'm going to move forward in. The memories I have of the Ultimate Warrior are amazing. I've got some unreleased video footage, and I'm not sure if I'm going to put that inside the inner circle or not. I'm definitely going to send that to his family out in New Mexico, but we do have some amazing audio interviews with the Ultimate Warrior inside the inner circle, and I have just having a little bit of a tough time just dealing with it, because I miss talking with him, and I miss the intensity of our conversations and the passion behind it, and that is such a rare thing to have conversations and to kind of meet eye to eye with somebody like that. And I believe that's definitely why him and I connected so much, even though he was older than me. I think it was refreshing for him to see such a to have such a conversation again. So let us get on with this episode of the Strong Life podcast, the STRONGCast with Chris Moore, the Barbell Buddha. Please subscribe at iTunes. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review. I would really love that. So I want to spread the word about what we do to all people to help them develop that strength in mind, body, and life. Thanks for being a part of this. It means the world to me. And again, get to undergroundstrength.tv, subscribe to the newsletter, hook you up with some free training courses, and put them to use. Much love, much respect. Peace, guys. Enjoy the show.
Cool intro music or something?
Nah, I ain't got no cool intro music. This is my intro. You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and action.
Word.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Strong Life Show, a.k.a. the STRONGCast. I'm here with my boy, the Barbell Buddha, a.k.a. Chris Moore.
What's up, man?
On your birth certificate, it said Barbell Buddha, and then your friends in elementary school just decided to call you Chris Moore, and you were like, yo, guys, my name is Barbell Buddha.
Yeah, I guess it works out for me, because now my avatar, my moniker, gives me a good reason to keep my belly around. It's branding.
Oh, man. So me and the Barbell Buddha met in Miami, in I think it was the old mansion that Scarface was in.
Dude, that was the mansion that Cocaine built. It had to have, because it hasn't been really updated probably since, like, it looks like a mid-90s deal. Still very nice.
It was sweet.
Well, some dude built that brick by brick with bricks.
It was like an old school Italian mansion, and you're very right about the lack of updates, because outside by the pool was like an old Joe Weider weight bench with the preacher curl attachment.
It looked like it was still sweet. We all showed up and just smiled, like, Mike Bledsoe from Barbell Show. You picked a hell of a place, man. Yeah, it had that ambiance, but it was really cool. That was such a greit time, man.
That was really
a little
cool.
hectic.
So
that was your first exposure to CrossFit competition, right? It was the Wadapalooza, Miami.
That was my second time in Miami. First time I've been to Miami was when I spoke at the 2010 CrossFit affiliate gathering, which was their last time having affiliate coaches speak. And when I got the phone call to be invited to speak there, I said, okay, so this is a joke.
Yeah.
Because anytime somebody's like, "Oh shit, I had no clue you're a CrossFit affiliate. You're nothing you're nothing like a CrossFitter." So when I spoke in Miami in 2010, I said to everybody, I go, "The way I got invited here was the CrossFit girls in charge were drinking and probably smoking pot, and they decided to play a crazy joke and say, hey, let's invite that Zach Evanish guy." And it was a joke, and then because they were drunk, they decided to follow through with it.
Well, I was so, because I remember when Mike brought up, hey, like I've been talking with Zach Evanish. I go, oh shit, Zach, because I knew of you back when I was in my uber fat, uber strong powerlifting days, and I was like, coming out of college and getting into, as most stuff I found on all deepsquatter.com, Louis' articles that fed into Dave's articles that fed into that couple of years where I couldn't go a day or an hour without checking out the old Elite Fitness page.
Wow. Yes,
back the original cast of characters when Jim was still big and bloated. And back when he was still actually training in Kentucky, like he was still a strength coach and doing all that. It was the earlier days. And so I'd known you for a long time, and I always had respect for you, man. You've been around for a while. Shit, this will be great.
People are
and it was just like immediately when we all showed up, it was just like this synergy, like, oh man, we're all on the same page. We're all like forming this little band of this little faction of renegades that are all going to push this community forward in our little small special way. Same thing goes with Travis Mash. Like we all just got together. We're all immediately just broing out.
Yeah, it's so funny. I always tell people you got to trust your gut instincts. When you're around the right people. When you meet up with everybody, when you meet up with people and you're like, you feel like you've known them forever. And it was funny. Yeah, we got there and it was just great, dude. Or I got there after, I was probably there like 2 days after everybody else. And so for everybody listening or watching, we met at a event called Wadapalooza that was put on or co-hosted by Guido Trinidad. He owns CrossFit Peak 360. He had a couple partners to put that event on. It was amazing. And my boy Barbell Buddha here is part of the Barbell Shrug podcast. He's also got
resident loudmouth, dick joke teller, distractor of grand scale.
Yo, man, people love you. Somebody commented on the podcast that we did with Barbell, with me, with you guys at Barbell Shrugged on Facebook or Twitter, and they were like, "This is gonna be the best." Like Chris Moore and Zach Evanish, the two most passionate guys in the world. And, dude, we had a blast with that podcast.
It was so much fun. That was a home run for sure.
That was legit. So let's give people a little bit of background info because I don't know how much people know about how you got into strength sports. When I see videos of you working out, looks like most of the time you're working out in your garage. Right.
Well, nowadays, yeah, man, because as opposed to the other guys on the show, I'm in more of your camp where I got a kid and I got another one on the way and I got a wife who would really like to see me sometime. So as before, like my competitive powerlifting days was like, well, I'm gonna go in the lab, I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna spend 8 hours a day lifting barbells and geeking out on it. That's great. And a lot of CrossFitters are now still in that zone. They can just fucking hang out in the gym all day and crush it, and that's amazing. What a great way to make progress, but it's just not possible for me. So having a space out in the garage with those awesome fundamental tools that you can't ever get away from, barbell, good rack, couple select toys. I'm so jealous of your toys, by the way. I could give me some more. But having that sanctuary out in the garage has been like a dream come true. It's been such an amazing thing to have because, man, when life gets tough, when life gets stressed, when you got limited time, you can step out in that garage and all of a sudden that is like your little Zen garden. That's one of my meditation spaces, really.
I say the same. I love it, dude. When I live in this town for a little over 4 years. So before I opened the gym that you guys were at here in Manasquan, the Edison gym was 45 minutes away, and I thought I could get there early, work out. Then I started answering the phone, cleaning this, setting this up, putting up workouts. So eventually I said, you know what? I went on Rogue. I bought the Westside rack, which is the original rack that they had in the...
it's the best rack of all time.
Yeah, it was. And you know what? Dave Tate even said that to me. He's like, dude, just get the 2x2 rack. He's like, that's what they have in the original Westside, the 800 square foot, not the original Westside. I know some people were arguing because Bill Peanuts West started that in his garage, out in Culver City, California, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Now that I think about you, I gotta show everybody a very cool book that you're gonna love, and an awesome book that Jim Wendler gave me. I'll show it to you in a second. But I got the power rack, and I got a barbell, and I got bumper plates. It was the first time I got bumpers because we have the cement floor. And dude, it was like going back into heaven, just training in that garage. And all I had was a flat bench. Actually, at first I didn't even have the flat bench. I just had the squat rack, had the chin-up bar, and the barbell. So I would do deadlifts, cleans, squats, bent over rowing, chin-ups, push-ups.
What else do you need?
Dude, what else do you... That's what dreams are made of.
Yeah, and you can see that old... some of my favorite videos, you talk about old school Westside, those first ones, like, I don't think Louis sells them anymore, but like, maybe the very first like methods videos where he was back, like when Chuck was kind of young.
Yes.
Matt Dimmel's in those videos, who passed away a long time ago, but they were pulling like 1,000-pound rack pulls and stuff off that little 2x2 rack. Yeah. That way, every time I go into a weight room and I see like these 5x5 huge towering power racks, I'm like, who in the shit is going to test this thing? Yeah. This thing will hold 8 million pounds. How do you get it in and out of the room?
I think sometimes people, and look, I'm as guilty myself, but sometimes we buy the shit we don't need. When I first opened the Edison Underground, I was buying things like, what are those balls that people do with the wall ball? What's that called?
There's those med balls, the fucking brand of them, like Dynaball, whatever. Dynamax, yeah.
Dude, I was buying all these Dynamax balls. We didn't even use that shit. I was buying things that I didn't need, and that's when I started telling coaches, I said, listen, live off of nuts and berries. Just go with the basics. And, a month ago, I went to Elliot Hulse's gym, and I was shocked. I mean, there's not a whole lot of dumbbells there. There's just barbells, kegs, sleds, and they make dudes fast as hell, strong as hell. There wasn't a lot of dumbbells there, and it really reiterated to me how basic you need to be. And if you ever see the old photos of Bill Peanuts West training out of his garage with Pat Casey, those guys, they don't show them at all using dumbbells. They had a squat rack. They had a box that they made, and a barbell. It was all barbell work.
Yeah, we're primates. We like shiny new shit, and that's okay. If you got access to cool dumbbells, you should program it. And as long as you realize they have their place, the barbell is always first place. Kettlebells are cool as shit. Everybody likes to do a little kettlebell swinging. Yeah. But as soon as you like make that the focus of your training, if your focus is strength, well, you're leaving out like the biggest bang for the buck, which is still that straight bar. That said, like, the proof is in the pudding. Go to any European badass weightlifting training hall, and what are you going to see? You're going to see awesome stretching racks on the wall, like you got in your gym. Yeah. The star balls, which I got to have some of those in my garage. I got to score one of those. You see squat stands, barbells, and all the damn bumper plates you can imagine. Yep. Not much else. A couple of machines here and there for hitting a little sticky weak points. Maybe you might see a little knee extension off in the corner. You might see some toys and see guys do some leg raises from pull-up bars. But that's it, man. And they're all look at a guy Klokoff and tell me he needs to do dumbbell work or this, that, and the other. He has a barbell. He worships that. He works that in every conceivable way. And tell me what he's missing. Nothing. Yeah. So it's nice to have, but you don't need any of that shit.
Right. It's interesting, though, because this morning while I was making lunch for my kids, I was watching the episode that you guys did on Barbell Shrugged with Louie. And
what an amazing guy. We got to geek out on Louie yesterday, too, because we had AJ on the show. That's coming out this week. So AJ Roberts.
Yeah. I can't wait to listen to AJ. Great friend of mine. And what's interesting to see how Louie's gym has evolved, because back in the day, I remember Dave Tate said there was no room for variety. He goes, when it was leg day, we knew that we were going to do three things: box squat, glute ham raise, and reverse hyper. And he goes, guess what? We kept getting stronger. Now, Louis' gym is much bigger. It's like those two warehouse spaces. He's got the leg press, the plyo leg press. He's actually got quite a lot of machines. And Doug said to him, he goes, you got a lot of machines and you do take advantage of it. And Louis said, well, you got to be smarter than the machine. So I do see that there's, or he goes, you got to be smarter than the weights. And I do see that there's some people that they get bored. So they need the variety. And I've been there training all the years. But I wonder, I've got to ask you, have you ever gone that route when you started like doing a bunch of different shit, and now you're just back full circle because you find the beauty of the basic barbell?
I mean, I guess I got caught in that and towards the end of my powerlifting career. I mean, you're always looking for some edge. And if you have access to toys, you're going to take advantage of them. You're going to play with them. But I guess my big aha moment was when I realized, I guess when we moved over to CrossFit, like we all got together and put together CrossFit Memphis like in 2007. The very nature of a CrossFit gym, what makes those gyms so great? And I think you see lifters who come over to the CrossFit side, like guys like Klokov. They go, I think his comment was, I want to commend you guys because this is so cool because you're restoring the gym in this place, in this culture, to what it is in our culture. It's a place where serious performance-driven outcomes are in place, not just entertainment, not just toys to distract you from your boredom, but like what comes first is performance. And we got back in there, especially with no damn budget, man. Like we didn't, Mike, Doug, Rob, I joined to train powerlifting and contribute whatever I could early in those days. We had nothing. We had a building that was barely standing up. That shit would not have passed code. There was no money to buy anything. We had secondhand racks and, you know, the cheapest barbells we could just get in there, and some bumpers, like those cheap ass bumpers with a little metal ring in them that always gets loose and pops out. And you're like, shit, I gotta replace these. But there was nothing, and it was like when you go through your house and you go minimum and you declutter shit. You're like, you know what? I don't need all this. You get rid of it all, and you're overwhelmed with immediate sense of like, wow, I feel at peace. Like with everything out of the way, you can see what matters most. And I got reinforced, and I made to move to the garage gym because the nature of a garage gym is you go say, what do I really need? What's going to drive my new goals? Anything else would be nice to have, but I don't have room for it. So it like enforces a simplicity. And then I started noticing when I go out my garage gym now with just my rack, I have a 2x2 Westside rack right in the middle. I can squat on either side. I could do some lifts on either side. Got a little pair of rings. Got a couple select kettlebells, a few specialty bars, not much else. My trusty Dave Tate glute ham raise, the old school Louis style. I don't trust any other glute ham raise, I'll be honest with you. I buy the pad alignment argument, all that. But I realized I have way less. I train with way less intensity. I'm more focused. I'm doing this because I love it. And I'm still way strong with half the effort. Like I can still go in there and do a pause squat with 500 pounds any day of the week. And I train half as often with half the stuff. And I start realizing, oh man, wait a minute. Like I'm starting to see a different path to this. I don't need to kill myself. I don't need to stretch the hours. I don't need all these toys. It seems like what is still most effective is still the lowest hanging fruit. Barbell, progression, with just enough variety mixed in to where you don't get bored. So like when it comes to like bands and chains and stuff, all those good toys too. I've come to realize that their biggest utility, you can get lost in like what's the loading, how do I go through different phases, circa max phases, speed, all that fancy stuff, which is good to know. But really I go, it's just good when you want to have a little extra fun. You get a little tired. When you get a little like, you know, I'm tired of squatting the same old way. You add a little variety and it makes it fun. And when you have fun, you train harder. And when you train hard, you're back to what matters most to make progress, you know?
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Like I've been throwing on some bands and chains on the bar to, break up the monotony a little bit and just change how I feel. And you were talking about the old school Louis tapes. I used to have them too. I don't know what the hell I did with them, but I had the old special strengths. And there's a couple of like bootleg versions floating on YouTube, but they like pulled out. They like edited some of the footage that I recall seeing. So
you can find some of that stuff on YouTube, I think, too. And they're so good. They're good in like an old school cable access TV show kind of way. Because look, Louis had some like gigantic VHS cassette thing. Obviously, he's standing in front, and Louis has always been a character, but now he's really good at delivering lines. But then he's just some guy who's like, somebody asked me to do a tape, I'm gonna do a tape. So he's rattling on, he's showing this. Like even when they start using bands, you can see when they first start using them, and they're all just put over the bar and they're slack, and Louis and Dave Tate are doing those speed squats. It's so fantastic to watch. But you talk about Louis.
Imperfect.
He's such a great guy, such an experimenter, like just a working class scientist in the gym. He's got all his machines because like the guy is still to this day, and we got into this a little bit, AJ. He's just a humble guy trying everything he can think of. What sticks to the wall, what helps people, he's going to start experimenting with and trying more and more often. I mean, the reason that program works is one, that intense environment, but two, he's been around, he's made the mistakes, he's just learned from them. Now he's trying to tell you, in his honest opinion, what is going to work best for you. Whenever you meet that guy, whenever you interact with him, he is just he's overwhelmed with a basic sort of kindness. Like this guy just wants to help you.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing his thing. He loves it. It's his passion. He's successful at it. But there is no real ulterior motive. He's just a great fucking guy.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I see him, and I can't wait to get to the day where I could just train young athletes for free. I can't wait.
Yeah, because people forget he doesn't charge anybody.
Yeah.
You can walk in there. He'll buy you breakfast. He'll tell you everything you want to know. If you're a young coach or something, he'll tell you everything he's ever learned for nothing. He'll spend the whole day working with you, expose you to every new idea he's got cooking. He doesn't hide anything. You know, the guys who train there pay nothing. You got to be accepted. You got to prove it, but that's just on you. You don't no money required. You just got to put in the work. But once you're there and you commit, if you do well, he throws support those guys. He pays for those records. They get a record on the board. You get $1,000, $2,000 out of his pocket to help support you.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of situations like that where a guy gives so freely.
Yeah, I think
so very freely.
You could. I mean, they just can't say enough good things about him. So, I want to. You seem like you're very influenced from Louis. But then I see some of your videos. I see you doing squatting, and yesterday I see you doing snatches. So
yeah, it's coming along, dude. I'm
beat up. Good, bro.
I'm as beat up as any ex-powerlifter, and it's coming along.
There's probably a lot of dudes listening that are dealing with some old injuries. Maybe it's from sports. Maybe it's from lifting heavy. What is your training program look like nowadays? You said you're doing half as much and having,
Yeah, it's about 3 days a week. I mean, I think I squat as often as I can, usually every one of those 3 days. Before I squat, I think getting back involved and really committing to reprogramming myself to be able to snatch has been such a fun thing. Because one thing I tell people is you can be advanced in something. Like when it comes to bench pressing, I've probably done a little too much of it. I get easily inflamed by it. I don't need much work to have it stay strong. There's no sense in pushing it anymore. I'd rather do things like some standing press and bring up things that are things that didn't work a lot when I powerlifted. But when it comes to things like the snatch, you've been playing with Olympic lifts, those movement patterns, we are reduced, even though I've been training for 25 years, I guess, even though I'm only 33, going on 34. In dog years and training years and powerlifting years, I'm 85. But since I was a really young kid, I started benching. And I started doing some terrible squatting, some pulls. But the movements you learn in powerlifting and even college football and all that stuff that was my background, the movement patterns aren't weightlifting. They aren't a proper first pull that's sort of reserved and cocks and loads you up for that second pull. Then, when you do a heavy deadlift, your knees kind of extend first than your hips, so it's sort of opposite in the Olympic pull where you leave some range in the knees as you get to the hips. Then you are in a position where you can jump. It took me a year just to figure out what that was supposed to feel like.
Art form, it's crazy.
Yeah, I first started snatching. To do 155 was a muscle snatch with terrible form. I would wrench my lower back every time. My body was like, what in the fuck are you doing? But, you stay with that. You pick something that reduces you to the state of a true amateur. Even though I was advanced at a lot of things, when it came to Olympic lifts, I was a true beginner. And you can go back and make so much progress so quick and get such satisfaction and quick progress when you realize there are things you just have neglected. And even though you're an advanced squatter, you can go back and learn those lifts and be just sort of restored and set on fire by when you make a small progress. Like when I hit 185 in a snatch for the first time, where it kind of just bounces off my thighs and snaps over, I go, holy shit. And I got invigorated the first time I benched, 135 when I was in fifth grade. I was like, oh, one plate on the bar. Yeah. Oh man, I'm huge. But when you have that feeling, that's different than, oh, I got a bench PR. How much more can I squeeze out of this body? Returning to that was such a big eye opener for me. Of course, I had always studied Olympic weightlifting because I when I was in grad school, studying sports science and training for powerlifting, I trained in an Olympic weightlifting training hall because all my buddies in the lab at University of Memphis, Dr. Brian Schilling, Dr. Lauren Chu, who's at the University of Alberta, I guess up in Edmonton, one of the smartest biomechanics minds you're ever going to find. We were all students of Dr. Mike Stone, Dr. John Garhammer, Kyle Pierce in Shreveport, who's Kendrick Ferris's coach. We all came out of that. So I always had an understanding that weightlifting is fucking legit. And anybody who says this is all about just moving around a bar, it's not about strength, it's not about this, that, and the other. You just haven't been around. You haven't been around a guy like Kendrick Ferris and watched him move weights, dude. Oh, shit. So I've always had an appreciation for it. And even though I'm over 30, I'm now's the time to really take all I've learned and apply it. And that way I can help people who are like me, who need to move better, who are getting into CrossFit and recognize the snatch and the clean and all that are really great movements. If I want to learn how to help people like that, I can experiment on myself first. So that's what I've been doing. I am limited in what I can do, of course. The biggest limitation I have is in my right elbow. This elbow does not extend. Too much jamming it into 300-pound guys on a football field. Too much 700-pound lockouts in my powerlifting days. So I can't rack a bar. And I can't even get it close to my clavicle when I do presses.
Yeah, I've seen you when we were lifting. You had a very close grip for your overhead press. What were your best lifts, whether it was in or out of, whether it was on the platform? What was your best squat, bench, deadlift?
The best squat, and I was always an amateur guy, so I'd never pushed into the professional ranks. But at a body weight of, I did my best lifting about 330 pounds. I never quite I squatted 1,000 pounds in training one time. My best in a meet was 975. Best bench press was about 675, and my best deadlift was about 675. Even though I pulled 700 or 715 or so in training one time. I always had a very long spine, short arms. I should have been a weightlifter, which is kind of funny. Even Doug on the show, Doug's like, you would have been a really great weightlifter. I go, that ship sailed a long time ago, bro. I got the short arms. I am a little bit athletic, and I could have been, if I would have preserved that range of motion and all that, I would have been pretty good at it. But no time for regrets here, Zach. We're going to make up ground now and do what we can do. I'd say for people out there who do have injuries or you're a little bit late to the game, you're frustrated by the fact that, hey, I'd like to jerk 400 or I'd like to do this, that, and the other, but my range of motion, this injury, old football thing, it's really stopped me. I think first things first, you got to give yourself a break. You made your decisions. You pushed hard. You did your best. You can't look back into some, version of the past you're holding on to and now, in hindsight, put together something you wish you would have done, and now you're going to beat yourself up about it now. You got to let go of all that. I can't bend that elbow, but I had a blast playing football. Fuck, I benched 700 pounds. That's okay, too. That's awesome. I got experience out of it. I can share my experience with others so maybe they don't push so hard for so long in just one direction. They can have a better go of it. They can know when to move on to the next thing that's going to give them some more satisfaction. There's always you got to look for the silver lining on the injury route. And you got to do what you can do. So I can't catch a heavy clean, but I can work on my pull. I can jump better because of it. I can snatch well because of it. I can deadlift now more often with less lower back pain because I'm in better weightlifting style position. There's so much good to still see. You got to be prepared to see the good of it.
Yeah, you just got to find, you achieve goals, then you create a different chapter in life with new goals. But one thing that I think is going to help guys like you and I, who we were heavily influenced by Westside, and really, I'll tell you, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, Louis never had anything good to say about weightlifters. And here's one thing that I definitely realized, two things. One is, of course, you look at the Olympics. I mean, I don't remember when there was a high-level American, winning medals. Hopefully Kendrick Ferris is going to be one of those guys, and John
West Barnett in that area is probably the last time we really had guys as strong as any European. Like West Barnett, like Travis Matchell today, West Barnett was a fucking monster.
And when was he competing?
Maybe early 90s or so, late 80s, early 90s. That's when Travis was getting.
And he was probably strong as hell. And here's what I noticed. When you guys were in New Jersey about, 2 months ago when Travis Mash held his weightlifting seminar, he held a little mock weightlifting competition. And guys that were missing lifts were not they just didn't look strong. They had the technique. They could get under the bar during a snatch. But when I do an assessment, when I look at somebody walking through the door and I see, okay, skinny legs, kind of a narrow torso, I'm like, damn, that dude needs to do what you guys were saying is the Chinese do this. Hey, if your back needs to get stronger, do one-arm dumbbell rows, do barbell rows, do farmer walks. And
there's a reason why they do all that shit. We were talking about yesterday on the show, for me, Mike and I have discussed, for years and years before we got in the weightlifting, we did do, I don't know, you could call it power building, heavy rows and shitloads of leg pressing and squats and benching and shoulder pressing, and you look at really good weightlifters and look what the Russians have basically always done and what good modern programs do. Sometimes you get purists who talk shit about the Chinese. I don't know how you do that. You see a girl who's 100 pounds snatching 300 pounds. I don't know how you talk shit about anything they're doing, but some people will they're doing knee extensions. They're doing these silly one-arm kettlebell rows or dumbbell rows for high reps. Ask Jim Wendler how good heavy dumbbell rows for high reps are. Ask any powerlifter. Ask anybody with a big back who benches a lot, or ask Klokov who could probably do 100 reps with a 200-pound dumbbell. I mean, these guys are all just strong as shit. And yeah, they learned, good weightlifters started learning those lifts and letting them become second nature to them from a very early age, of course. Like a guy like Klokov, now he published his old school training tapes online, which are fantastic. But he's like a 10-year-old kid training 3 times a day, learning the lifts. But he's also squat, 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 pull, 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 push, push, push every day, and slowly building a huge base that was coupled with the huge exposure to the technique and the movement. Plus, it helps that your dad's a world champion Russian weightlifter. But he was a confluence of every awesome thing you could have: great genetics, great coaching, great work ethic, great culture around him. It takes all that. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at a guy trying to learn to snatch and he's struggling, yeah, you got to learn the movement. And a lot of people are now getting exposed to that through CrossFit. And that's a beautiful thing, dude. It's a really beautiful thing. But I do worry, like, you do that, you work your form and you work the Metcon, but there's a huge gap where the bodybuilding / weakness training and a Westside type approach / a power building approach, like, where are your 3 sets of 10 this heavy row? Where's the horizontal pulling period? Where is, you get some lunges and stuff, but where is the heavy back raises? Where you got to have that stuff if you're going to hold up, if you're going to build each chain and then link and be able to snatch 300 pounds.
Yeah,
because a guy like maybe a guy like Rich Froning, these are all guys, and Matt Chan, all these great CrossFitters too. They have this big history of just doing training.
Yeah,
fucking Jason Khalifa spent years just pumping it up in the gym, dude, and look at the guy's physique. It came from somewhere. It didn't actually come from CrossFit. CrossFit cultivated it, tied it all together, gave it a great fucking direction, a beautiful direction. But that's not the root of it.
Yeah, he's a strong mofo.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. It's that you got to have that friggin' solid foundation, and you can't. I don't like to discriminate against movements that get you strong. So when we are training people, it's just like, hey, we need to dumbbell bench, we need to floor press, we need to do farmer walks, tons of sled drags. I want to talk about something because we talk about life here, and you're training less. And when I met you in Miami, when were we in Miami? Because right now it's April 8th. It was mid-January. So almost...
yeah, mid or late January, whatever
January,
it was.
February. So almost 3 months ago. And you were like stressed out. And I actually saw it on your face, dude. I really saw it on your face because I've been there. I was at the
crossroads, man. This winter was tough for me.
I could see a mile away when somebody's an entrepreneur and also working their quote-unquote real job.
Because that was you.
Yeah, dude. I remember that feeling. That like you could see it on somebody's face, and then as soon as you bring up the topic, the person's like talking about how stressed out they are, how it's wrecking them. You look much healthier now than when I saw you 3 months ago. It's amazing how like stress fucking breaks your body, like breaks your metabolism. It like puts up a roadblock to hitting any sort of potential.
How could you have a normal sleep schedule, a normal hormonal profile? How could you have any sense of balance in your life? Or how could you even see what maybe you feel like you're intended to do for whatever intention is? I mean, how could you push towards some path that will be rewarding to you if you're a slave to something? You can't. You can't divide your own, like the old saying, like, house divided against itself. Like your own internal being and core and your heart, if it's divided against yourself, how can you be a happy person? You really can't. So for people who don't know, for the whole history of Barbell Shrugged and what we did, I did the corporate gig. Like Doug, Mike, Rob, they were committed early on. The situation was a little different, and that's fine. They grew that business and could commit full time. I did the 8 to 5 corporate gig because you get you get out of school, and what does school teach you? Oh, you got to jump into this thing. You got to get a job. That's what a normal, responsible human being does. They get this job. Not talking shit about jobs, but that's presented as the only option. No one also tells you, like you said, no one says, you get a job, that's fine, or you can do something cool on your own. There's ways to start businesses, and what do you really love to do? What could you contribute? What could you trade value for? Here's how you would set up a business. No one ever even, I don't recall in all the years of school, in college, grade school, anybody ever fucking saying to me, this is not the only thing you could do. It's not all about ACT scores and standardize this, that, and the other, and this one singular path and hooking your wagon up to a slavery gig for the next 40 years.
They do have entrepreneurship now as like a college major. I'm not sure like exactly what they learn and whatnot. But you're so right. I mean, you're especially our age, people in like mid to late 30s, and anybody older.
Mhm.
Um,
This
being an
wasn't.
entrepreneur was very rare until this kind of technological craze kind
Yeah.
of started kicking ass, and now people are using their own hobby or passion to create, to turn passion to profit. So, how long did you work at this, whatever, this corporate gig?
Yes, it was from 2006 till April of this year.
So, eight
And
years?
yeah, a long time, man. And the whole I kind of familiar with, it aligns with your story because that whole time, even before I got that job, when I was in grad school, I remember starting a blog on iWeb. It was so shit. Just a picture of me being leaning up against a wall or something like chrismoore.com. I didn't have anything to say, but I knew I had an urge to say something. It just the situation wasn't right yet. That pearl was always there. And then I tried again, like 3 or 4 launches that just were laughable.
What did you
But
try to do that wasn't
it
that
was
you?
just on a like probably 2 people ever visited that site ever, but it was just an early urge that I couldn't explain. I feel like I got to say something. I couldn't ever explain it. Then I started saying things in the form of little articles. Like I published something on T Nation years ago. I think the first
Really?
article I ever published was on T Nation when I was in college or grad school. It was like they named it like the Sight Game. It was like a practical sports psychology article. It's still on there somewhere. People can Google it. I wrote some stuff for Dave Tate and Elite Fitness way back in the day. You can still see that stuff if you research it. I
Nice.
go, this is kind of fun saying stuff. I wrote an article that Jim published on like why I thought I've been too fat too long in powerlifting and why there's another path around it. By the time I went from 370 pounds down to 235, and I did some grappling and mixed martial arts for a little while. I was like, you
Can
know
you
what?
tell us
Let's change this shit.
how did you just give like a 1 or 2 minute rundown? How the fuck did you lose 140 pounds?
uh, well, I went a little too extreme the first time. I cut. There was no focus on paleo in 2008 or so. I don't think that was quite what it was now. I remember just cutting way back. I was like, why am I eating like 3 cups of oatmeal or more? And I cut that out, just did eggs. Basically went low carb. For a while there, I had Shelby Starnes actually help me for a while. He did some basic carb cycling stuff. It's like, oh, I probably don't need carbs on days I'm not doing anything.
Yep.
Probably need a little bit more on days I am doing stuff. And a revolutionary idea. So I started playing with that. I said, you know what? I don't like just lifting now, just for the sake of lifting. I started doing some rowing, some sprints. I kind of got back into sort of the way I would have trained for football. A little
Yeah.
lifting. Even I lost a little too quickly. I didn't give myself much of a break there. My spine was a little shaky. My leverages changed so much so quickly. You can't expect to be strong. Yeah, I was still in those undisciplined early stages, but I still expected myself to be able to perform on every level, even though I was asking so much of my body. And I tell people now, you gotta give yourself some credit and give yourself some kindness when you're going through some sort of cutting or weight loss phase. You can't expect to hold on to everything you've got while you ask your body to give up so much. You gotta fucking be kind to yourself first. But it did work. I mean, just intervals on the rower, prowler pushing, and weight training coupled with that carb cycling approach, it just fell off. My body sort of really responded quickly. And I was there for, about half a year or so. At that, for me, 235 is very light, actually. Super light. I'm right now, I feel pretty light and I'm 270 or so. It's always been a little heavier. I mean, I was like 185 pounds like in fourth grade, fifth grade. I'm always going to be that
Ripped.
bigger.
You were ripped.
Maybe not quite ripped, but I just have a big scaled frame. I just enjoy feel great when I'm a little heavier. I mean, maybe it's not so good for the long term to be that inclined, but I've always enjoyed it. But then I said, you know what, time to get strong again. And within like 4 months, from like July of maybe 2008 to like October, I was like at 295 and I had set PRs in the powerlifting meet. So I didn't say they were long. I've learned my lessons now, but yeah. So I'd written those articles, dude, and I got a taste for it, and I started getting back into the blogging like in 2007 on the CrossFit Memphis blog page. I set up that site for us, and I started blogging again. Like, here's some training tips, and that's when I guess even 5 years after those initial early tries in college, that's when like maybe 5 people would read it, or 10 people, or like 15 people. And I'd do that at night. Like, it'd be like fucking 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
There's something I could say. Like, here's how I would do 5x5 training. Here's another way to do it. Or here's some good ideas for training to get better at, the deadlift or squat. It's whatever little pearl I could throw out, I started tossing it out. And I just didn't quit doing that. So 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11. I moved off of the Fitter page and made my own blog, like thechrismooreblog.com. I kept doing it. I kept doing it. And slowly, like you get an email, hey man, that blog was cool. Thanks for doing it. You get a little more momentum here and there. Another year would go by, another year, and you just get lost in the habit of it. Before long, you don't even think about, well, should I got to put up a blog post? It becomes your habit. You do it, you pursue it, and it finally got to the point where, we said, well, let's also do a podcast. Okay, I do the podcast, and I will still do that blog post. And I would slowly just put these pieces together and build and build and build. And of course, in the last year or so, the show has really taken off. People will discover that, and they come back and they see what you've been building. They see this legacy. They've heard about you. Yeah. So when I decided finally, like, look, this is breaking me. I've now got to the point where I think you were there. I can't keep doing these two things. Like I now saw sort of the manifest destiny of what could be, especially this year when like there's a lot of cool events to go to. There's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of great people like you and Travis and everybody to meet and talk to. I started realizing it's time for a decision, man. I need to be available. I need to be able to step towards my bliss, so to speak. I knew if I did that, more and more would open up. And I knew it was still early enough where it wasn't a sure thing. So it took a little bit of a leap. But people, your friends and your family will look at you when you go to make this move. And for somebody who's really putting in the work and has really worked hard to build a little community of people who dig them and dig their ideas, your friends won't see that. Your parents who are worried about you won't see it. Your coworkers will go, what's wrong with you? What are you doing?
Why?
And they'll project a lot of fear. They project a lot of fear on you because they're scared shitless of ever walking away from their thing, but they haven't done the work. So I knew I'd done the work. I'd put in the time. I had an idea of what could be. And I sat down and I asked myself, what do I really want? It wasn't to be a slave to anything anymore.
Your wife,
even if it took risk.
She was very stressed out for you because as soon as I started telling you how I quit my job, she's like, "You can't keep doing this. He goes to work, then he comes home, he works more. He's always drinking coffee." We've got a son. We've got another baby on the way. And dude, your face was like this. Like
it was intense, dude. Because people look. I don't feel. People look. Hey, man, you left your job. You've got 2 kids and a wife and all this. I don't feel that because they love me so. And I also know that if you're going to take a risk, having a young family around you is a perfect time. Like some people think they're going to wait for a perfect time to do something. And Zach, when is the perfect time to do anything? Never, dude. Yeah, somebody asks you, you can have another kid? Man, aren't you nervous about that? Like, when would I not be nervous about it?
Yeah.
That would be the path towards waking up one day at the age of 45 and now realizing, what have I built? Oh, I'm so behind. Like that's when you find yourself maybe trapped. So now is the time. And this was all sort of set on fire also by a bit of personal loss. My dad passed away on Thanksgiving Day. It was a tough time. But, when you have those crossroads moments and you experience that, you go, wow, the clock is ticking. Your time is finite. You can do something great, but, the world's going to keep evolving and passing you by. It shows you a window. It's like, come on, you can get on the train now. You got to be willing to go for it at some point. I realized this is not what I want. I'm paying a price. And kind of like Zach Evanesh's famous line that you set me on fucking fire with in my head. You know what? Like, I didn't want to be the guy who looked at my daughter and have her say, what in the shit? Why should I listen to you, Dad? What in the shit did you ever do? That's not going to be me. So it was a combination of having put in the work. I just didn't jump blindly off one thing into the void. That's too much of a risk. There's risk enough with any change.
But you had, like you said, you had stuff going on. You were writing articles. You've got books on Amazon. You got the podcast. I mean, you've got things in place, which I always tell people, like, you can't just quit and
that is a wild move. You just quit.
Success in life is very much like success in the weight room. It's the fucking basics. Like people keep trying to look for like tricks and marketing schemes. And I tell people, I go, hey, like, you want to know what makes you successful as an entrepreneur? Like being awesome at what you do. When I first opened the new gym, in the beginning, it was like, it's like took me full circle to when I opened my first gym. People are like, just train anybody, train people. You start going down that route. And now what I do is I fucking give everybody everything I got, which is always the way I like to roll. And the kids that I train, we just turn them into ass kickers. And the parents have no choice. They can't hide what we do because it's so awesome. And like Louis says, He goes, weak people always hate on strong people. Strong people never complain. Just like unsuccessful people, they're always hating on successful people. One thing that's really good that you have is you're constantly, you are on a regular basis surrounded in a very uplifting environment by hanging out with your boys from Barbell Shrugged. Like that's a very
Exactly. I am
positive
lucky.
environment.
I I sometimes find myself pinching myself actually because I'll go, I've always been around the smartest people I could ever hope to be around. There's another reason why I got very important to step away from the one thing because in a it's not all corporate gigs, but in the corporate gig I was in, I wasn't around that for half the day, and I wasn't around that for the best hours of my day. So half the day was injecting me with anxiety, making me a slave to calendars and email noises on incoming messages and putting me on edge, and maybe zapping that confidence, trying to keep me tied into a certain path. On the other side, I had guys like you, guys like Travis Mash. I can't, Travis, you fall in love with that guy as soon as you meet him. So many people in the CrossFit community. My brothers in Barbell Shrug, CTP. He's one of the most creative, fun guys you're ever going to meet in your life. High
You almost
energy.
got married in New Jersey
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah. Mike Butts has, for years I've been looking at him going, "You're a crazy son of a bitch." You know that crazy eyes. But you look at him, basically he's projecting his real self to you, but he's got such a vision and he trusts it. And when you start trusting and buying in, this magic starts happening. And then to Doug, who's for people, you can probably see it when you listen to Barbell Show, but Doug's the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. And Doug could have learned anything. He could have been anything. Could have been a NASA engineer, maybe. Could have been a physician. Could have been anything. He loves training, and he wants to apply that to training.
Dougie Fresh.
Yeah, so we got a potent unit. And I tell the dick jokes. And also get off into a different thing on my podcast. But we have such a unique story base and such experiences on the show. I think that's what people feel. Like what you're seeing is not anything like we didn't look at podcasts and go, we could probably mimic something, we could do something, we could use a trick or ploy to get people to listen. I think you're just seeing four people, and seeing the work of four people who just care a lot about helping. We've geeked out on this shit our entire lives. We want nothing more than to be around other cool people who share some experience. We just want to get that to people. So there's no, I think when you can learn some marketing gimmicks and everything like that, it's great. When you can learn some strategies, great. But that's icing on the hard work and passion cake, I guess. Like we are what we are because we've created this. I just saw it this week. It's one of these little Reddit motivational things, but it's one of the really good ones. It's like you don't go out and find yourself. You slowly build yourself. You cultivate yourself. You go towards what triggers something in you because you trust it, because you love it so much, and you give yourself over to it. And you start being reworked in that image. You start sort of growing in that new form. Yeah. And I knew that if I was going to really be what I could really be, that I had to step towards these good influences even closer. I'd be around them more often, and couple that with this attitude of hard work. And man, you got a ripe situation for just making massive improvement. You got to get to good people as human beings. If there's anything that's true about being human, it's that you got to get around other great human beings who are going to support you and make you come alive, set you on fire, help you discover what it is you really care about. You can't be on your own. You can't be in isolation. You can't rely on tricks. You can't ask to trick other people in order for you to have success. It's just not going to be a long-term strategy for success. You got to fucking care. And if you care, they'll give you energy. And if you have the energy, you're going to build. And if you build, it's going to happen. But you got to just be willing to keep going at it.
Yeah, I always say that. I say if you care, like you're just going to do the right things. I don't know. It's so simple and it's so old. And I feel like so many things are for smarter, more successful people is like they're just kind of going full circle to older ways of everything, whether it's entrepreneurship. I spoke about this butcher in town. Whenever I go and buy stuff, he like gives me something for free, some sort of like hamburger patty or chicken patty. And
here, try this. Isn't it great?
Yeah, and he comes out behind the counter and shake hands and talks, and it makes me always want to go back there. He cares. Yeah. Of course, he has a great product. He has great food, but he just genuinely cares. And same thing with like training. It's like we're talking about earlier. Like you're going full circle, and you're back to just doing the basics. And yes, you are surrounded by these great, humble people. But for people out there listening and watching, listen, sometimes you are not surrounded by people. You actually start off by removing yourself from the bad circumstances, the negative people, the Debbie Downers.
And they're going to give you shit for it.
They're going to give you shit for it. But look at, you're in your office you're in your office. You got two Henry Rollins posters signed. I guarantee everybody said Henry Rollins is a fucking weirdo for doing Black Flag, for doing his stand-up stuff.
I beat his ass every day when he was a kid because he was strange and fit.
Yeah, and look what, what's interesting is, we talk about our weightlifting being our meditation. I say the same thing. He says the same thing too. I don't know what the fuck, where I would be or who I would be if it wasn't for lifting. And today I was filming, and I get like the most fired up and the most passionate when I'm lifting. Like the words and what I'm thinking about flows. And it's the same thing like when I'm around my kids. It's like I just can't keep my hands off my kids. I love them so much.
Oh,
and
man.
that is just a sign that you got to move. You got to move towards everything that you love, be it the people and the things that you want to do. Move towards your love, and success will come, I believe.
Yeah, let me talk, Henry. I mean, if you read all his history and his books, I got exposed to Henry Rollins because I was a complete ADD 80s kid. Instead of doing anything maybe productive, maybe I never read shit when I was a kid. During those long summer breaks from vacation, I would just watch like Headbangers Ball late at night. My dad would sleep on the couch. He wasn't checking on me. So I'm like, I'm playing fucking Yo MTV Raps, Headbangers Ball.
Midnight.
I saw a lot of Black Flag. I'm like, this shit is awesome. I'd stay up and watch too much HBO. I'd see movies like The Chase, was it Charlie Sheen and Henry Rollins in that movie. I saw this intense dude.
So funny.
You watch the old Liar video and all that. You're like, this is an intense dude. And then at some point you realize this dude likes to think too. Like, oh, he lifts weights. And you hear the story of him. Like, I think one of his old coaches in high school saw him getting his ass beat just about every fucking day. Yeah. And this guy snaps some of it, says, look, come here, man. You need a barbell. Show him the basic progressions and feed that kid who's just confused and scared but knows he's angry but wants to funnel it in some direction. But you put a barbell, the great calibrating force, and like that's hand. Now what an act of kindness. He set that guy on a path that has changed us all for the better. We owe that coach a debt of gratitude, don't we? But you rebuild a guy, you strengthen a guy, and he takes that and uses it for good. He shows that strength is a very intense and awesome and beautiful thing. He tells you things like it's okay to listen to ballads and lift weights. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to show yourself. It's okay to get up and share your thoughts and be confident. It's okay if you're not the smartest guy in the room. You can work hard and keep going and say yes to jobs, yes to work, yes to opportunity.
Yeah.
And just keep pushing forward, keep fucking going for it, and then amazing things can happen. I mean, the reason those posters are on my wall, it's a reminder that you can be a normal fucking guy with not a whole lot to say, but you can make yourself into some awesome thing. You got to be willing to do the work. That guy did the work. A young, dumb kid from Washington, D.C. didn't know shit other than he liked music, believing enough to get on stage and yell with some passion. Having the confidence to go, yeah, I'll do some acting work. Yeah, I'll do some spoken word. I'll start a publishing company. Yeah, I'll take my ramblings and put them in a book form. You do it for long enough, people start listening, people start taking note. I mean, you have no idea what can open up. You feel the fear of like, you go, I'm not good enough. You look back in your past for confirmation of that. You go, yeah, look at all those times I wasn't good enough. You're not paying attention to the times you were awesome. And you go, I wasn't good enough. Maybe I won't ever be. And you look out in the future, like, what can I do? Probably nothing. That kind of path is just fucking poisonous. At some point, you break loose and say, man, there's stuff I really care about, love. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to step towards what makes me most happy. What gets me fired up, what I know people respond to, because I have put in the work. I have thrown some things out there, and I have been doing it long enough where I know what people are going to listen to. I can do more of it. I can help them. And that's the big value for value trade. Once you realize that, you go, there's a path here. I can break away from what is quote unquote normal,
It's when you are true to yourself, these are also cliche
cliche
lines.
For a reason, though, right?
Yeah, listen, when you're true to yourself, the right shit happens. Like when I see people trying to pretend to be someone or something or for a certain group of people that they're truly not, it's no good. Listen, I don't want to train a certain group of people. I gave that to one of my coaches. I said, dude, take all the money. You collect the money. It's all yours. I just want to train athletes more. And if I take it to the core, I just want to train kids that are like former Henry Rollins, weak, inconfident, picked on, getting their ass kicked. That's the one I want to work with. And I stay true to that. And I'm always most successful when I do that. But listen, homeboy, I'm going to be cutting out soon to pick up my little guy from school. I always close out a STRONGCast with a question. And I say, and the question is, you tend to always be on the other side of the mic, meaning you do your own podcast, the Barbell Buddha podcast. You guys do Barbell Shrugged, where you're kind of guiding the direction of the conversation. But what question do you wish somebody would ask you that would be something that, man, you're like, people need to know this? What question do you wish somebody would ask you? I'm stumping the Buddha.
That's a tough one, man. I guess I always like it when somebody shows an interest in something that is not just maybe a meathead matter. Like, I think I love talking about everything outside of the gym too.
Yep.
Things I'm passionate about: music, coffee, like things that you see emerging in Barbell Shrugged. A good fucking glass of tequila, time on the beach, time with friends. What I geek out on, and what really moves me more than anything, is when I see how everything, like, training is important because it gives us so much, but it's not different than anything else in my life that I find equally as beautiful and awesome. When it comes to music and conversation with friends over a nice reposado of tequila or something with a splash of grapefruit juice. When it comes time to hang out with you guys, it's not all about training. Like, what makes these experiences really, really special is the same thing that makes the training special. Like the relationships between everything. It just floors me sometimes how everything, like what works for me in the office, listening to tunes, works for me in the gym. Finding my peace, finding my quiet moments, doing what matters most to me. I mean, it ain't all about PRs and all this shit, man. There's so much to sit back and take stock of. There's so much to enjoy and there's so much to appreciate. Like, once you slow down, sit quietly and start thinking about what matters most, you see how it's sort of all tied together. I'm just in a spot in my life where I'm just having such a good time learning to slow down and see what really matters, and to see how it's not about pushing forward at full speed all the time. It's about helping people and enjoying right now, just being around the things that give me pleasure. I mean, and I kind of got a little ranty on that one, but I love this experience so much. I just want to keep giving all the good to people I can. Like, if there's something I can help somebody do, I can recommend a good tequila. We can geek out on that one time. I'll do it.
What's a good tequila?
I think one of my favorite ones I've had, because it's cheap, it's high quality. There's this Espolon, ESPOLON. It's got a great logo with these skeletons like riding horses and shit.
Nice.
But you don't have to spend a lot of money on tequila, folks, to have a really good experience. Don't let the girl at the liquor store just trick you into spending $80 on a bottle of tequila. $20-$25 is all you need. But there's so much beyond the gym. Like, you gotta explore everything. If you find yourself consumed just with what's going on in the gym, expand your horizons. Once you learn to appreciate more things that are outside of work, outside of the gym, you're gonna find your training gets better anyway.
True.
Yeah. Maybe we can also talk one day about good old Black Flag tunes.
Yeah, dude. We should talk next time about Vice Friday, coffee, starting off your morning. You got some cool coffee videos. What we're going to do, Chris, is on the blog, and everybody listening here on iTunes or watching on YouTube, go to undergroundstrength.tv, and I'm going to link up. We got the Barbell Buddha podcast. We've got a cool YouTube channel with these awesome daily videos from everything, like Chris is talking about, to coffee, to music, to just life. And let's give everybody, so while they're listening, where would you like people to connect with you? Where's the easiest way?
Yeah, there's options. You can go on barbellbuddha.com. You can contact me, send me a message. I read every email. I'm committed to, you never get some spammed auto-generated thing from me. When you reach out and you hear me respond, it's me. Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at Barbell Buddha is all the same. Take a picture of a question and show it to me. I'll answer it. Any format people want, I'll get back to you. Yeah, tweet me, Instagram me, Facebook me, send me a message to the website, and I'll get back to you. No, yeah, check out on iTunes the show, which as opposed to Barbell Shrugged, is me in front of a microphone, usually just going off.
Talking
You know,
life.
I look at my computer, I pretend it's a buddy of mine, and I start telling stories and I get personal, I get out there, I get a little intoxicated and start, rambling and ranting a little bit, but it's all fun. People seem to dig it.
Oh shit, dude. So this has been awesome. I can't wait for us to all hang out again. And we're trying to plan that stuff, of course. But everybody, thanks for listening to the Strong Life podcast, the
Indeed.
STRONGCast. And this is my boy, the Barbell Buddha. And make sure you guys go to undergroundstrength.tv, sign up for the newsletter. And like Chris said, like I do talk about training, but I talk more about life. And I just feel like I'm always, every time I think I'm talking about training, I'm talking about life. Every time I'm talking about life, it's something learned out of that weight room. So
You can't separate the two. These things are
yeah,
the same thing. What
no
is good
doubt.
for one is good for the other.
That's right, baby. All right, guys, this was awesome. Thanks to everybody. And make sure you go on iTunes, hook a brother up with a 5-star review, share this podcast with your friends.
Do it.
Yeah, man, just share it out. And like Chris said, we're spreading the good word, talking about our passion. And reach out to us, questions through Twitter, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, all that cool stuff. We're all over the place trying to keep up.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
we will see everybody at a future live event. Thanks again, everybody. Take care, comb your hair, and peace out.
Cheers.
Cheers.